something. He's, you know, dumping bodies down this hole behind the church. He's a serial killer. And look, he's carved like some kind of Satan thing into this table, you know. He's a devil-worshipping maniac. But then by the end of the movie, if you remember the table, you're going to go, hey, that's not the devil he's carved into the table, that's a self-portrait. So this is his artist's self-portrait of himself, you know, on the table. It's got his face open. It's a stylized thing, but it's all there if you look at it really fast. Ever since I was a little kid, I was drawing monsters. I was like, the first things I ever drew were like monsters. And to be able to have like drawn a monster and to have somebody come in and say, oh yeah, this is nice, we're going to now make it into a real thing. And then step by step, see like the costume people come in and say, yeah, this is the clothes it's going to wear, and these are the boots and the pants and the shirt and all that kind of stuff. And then you know, the makeup effects guys come in and say, this is how we're going to sculpt it, and this is what the back of the head's going to look like. And then see the actor come in, and you know, this is how it's all going to fit on him, and this is the way it's going to walk, and this is the way it's going to have an attitude. And then to see it turn into this living, breathing creature, I mean, it's just amazing. It's just awesome. I mean, it's like, you know, the pinnacle of any horror movie fan is to see a monster that you drew turn into a living, breathing thing. And I'd go and I'd talk to Breck in between takes sometimes, and you know, he'd be in this huge, great, gothic monster makeup. And a little kid inside me be jumping up and down going, it's the monster! It's the monster! And all excited, and I'm trying to act cool and around him, and he's like, you know, having all this patience with me, you know, oh, I'm the monster, you know, and he's telling me about other projects he's working on, and, you know, and it was like, you know, his voice coming out of this really scary, horrific, you know, gothic monster was just great. I mean, it was just surreal. It was wonderful. There's nothing else like it. If you have a chance to do it, you should try it.
As a director, my job is to make the strongest impressions as quickly as possible in telling my stories. As a result, I wanted both Tricia's car and the creeper van to have distinct on-camera personalities. And after my production designer, Stephen Legler, took me through old catalogs of different cars from past to present, the only cars with real cool angles and personalities came from the 50s and 60s. Later model sedans, as I had described in my script, all look like eggs on wheels compared to the lines and fins and incredible and classic architecture of these vintage cars. Getting close to the deadline of shooting and still without a car selected for Trish and Derry, we were driving to the art department one day in Central Florida, and at a stoplight there was this wonderful old car idling next to us with this old fellow driving it. And he had kept it up, so it was really beautiful. And I was like, that's it. What is that? What kind of car is that? And it was pure happenstance that we found the right car to be the great character that takes the kids through this roller coaster ride. We didn't have the budget to buy, paint, and restore 3 Chevy Impalas, or remove the transmissions from their steering wheels and put them on the floor, as per my script. So everyone was trying to steer me away from them, no pun intended. Except for my producer, Barry Opper, who seemed to understand that to have the right car, which is essentially a character in the film, was worth the extra money.
I think the problem when the restrictions are running a show, when the limitations are running a show, you don't have the ability to say, let's go for it. And therefore, you may come in on time, on budget, but I think the thrill of reaching communicates on film, and you've got to thrill the audience.
A lot of people don't know that a simple shot of 2 people driving in a car takes an enormous amount of rigging and machinery and lights to make it look like it looks in real life. It is also why in these shots the actors aren't really driving. The car is lifted up onto a rolling platform called a process trailer, which is then towed by the insert car. The insert car is really a large truck that carries me, the director, my script supervisor, the camera crew, and the director of photography. And one of the first things my director of photography, Don Fauntleroy, wanted when he saw how much driving and car work was in the film was to hire a man named Jack Carpenter to head up the insert cars. You want someone who knows what they're doing and will keep everyone safe, and Jack's experience and ability did just that. So the insert car driver tows the cast and the crew and all the equipment and rigging around, making it like a small studio on wheels. Jack Carpenter, our insert car driver, had to drive all this at varying speeds depending on the scene. We called it the pirate ship because it was full of people and flags, and it looked like one, especially at night out on the foggy roads of rural Florida.
You'd have to be superhuman, otherwise the smell would have killed him.
Houston, 037 out there on East 9.
Central, this is 037, go ahead.
As a director, you have to keep looking for new and interesting ways to show something happening. And in one of our biggest night scenes between Trish and Derry and the trooper car that is escorting them, rather than just cut back and forth from car to car, I thought it would be great to roll back and forth between them uninterrupted. I called it our Sugarland Express shot because of all the wonderful car work that Vilmos Zsigmond and Spielberg did on that film. But it was more challenging for our cast and crew than I thought it ever would be. Since the shot was free-moving between two cars, Trish and Derry's car was being towed by a process trailer, while the actors playing the troopers were in a free-flowing car. The troopers had to keep an exact distance between them and Gina and Justin's car so that when Jack Carpenter drove the camera car back and forth between the two vehicles, everyone was lit and framed correctly. Jack had to hit such precise marks when rolling back and forth that I still don't know how he did it. The entire shot took hours to line up and shoot, and it depended on so many people being in the right place at the right time that I was amazed by the second or third take that we had it and it was working.
Actually, you don't see the creeper at first. All you see pretty much is his truck. He is the truck. It's his shell. It's like, you know, he's encased in this metal monstrous armor that he lives inside, and then like at night he can actually come out. So this is the first step to this huge, dirty, disgusting, nasty looking truck. And it has a voice like, you know, some archaic monster. It has horns. If you're looking up at it, the three little lights at the top are horns. It's a lot like a medieval helmet, almost of some dark knight, you know. It's got like these weird blacked out visor with these horns on the front and this metal grill of a mouth. And it's, you know, it's just this really demonic looking thing.
They originally wanted a van, but they couldn't find a van that looked as menacing as this truck, so they went ahead and built a back to it. I've got plenty of room in the back there to hang all my weapons of destruction and do all my gathering of bodies.
We were still in Los Angeles in production. I was driving around, and I think going into work one day to do more boarding, and this old van drove by me. And it was really old, and the paint on it was all messed up. And it was like rusted, and there was like this strange work rail welded to the side of it, and there's like all decayed and strange. And I saw that and I was like, wow, that's like, you know, that's like the Creeper's truck, something this disgusting.
The cab that I absolutely loved for the front of the Creeper van was from a Rio truck from the late 1940s. It was from a flatbed truck, so my production designer, Stephen Legler, needed to design a box for the back to turn it into a van. While our transportation department worked on the mechanics of the truck, putting the pieces from several junkyards back together, Stephen had a set and effects shop in Orlando build the box and rear doors, and did what Stephen called the scenic painting, distressing them to look old and rusty and nasty. Stephen built 3 Creeper vans, all matching, and 2 of which ran. One had the original engine, and another had a souped-up V8 with an automatic transmission used for the chase and stunt shots.
What the hell is that? Is that the...
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's creepy.
The last thing he did was to design his front bumper for ramming the car and to look terrifying. Stephen said he modeled it somewhat after the cowcatcher on an old steam locomotive, but reversed the shape, making it narrower in the center and wider on the outsides. It looked more like a rammer, and it also gave it more of a face. Stephen designed the van almost a little too good, because on the first day of shooting, when we wanted to tap the Chevy with the Creeper van for some side view shots of the truck attack, the big fender Stephen designed was so effective that even at just cruising speed, the van demolished the back end of our picture car. Unfortunately, it was our A car, which means the best of the three Chevys got badly bashed, and on day one, when there were still shots to do with it, undamaged. My director of photography, Don Fauntleroy, really kind of saved the truck attack sequence. As assistant cameraman and camera operator, Don worked on so many big-budget action flicks, like T2, for example, that what he brings to the table is an incredible body of experience and ability. He told me before we shot the truck attack that we had 5 cameras and he wanted to use them all. He strapped the creeper van with 3 cameras and let it take off, chasing Trish and Derry's car with their stunt doubles driving. The result were 3 notable and dramatic angles, all used in the film. The first was a high camera slashed to the top of the creeper truck, and it gave us the eerie and shaky bird of prey angle that sort of rocketed after the kid's car in just the way the script talked about. The shakiness of the angle, which couldn't be avoided because of the precarious nature of the camera and the old truck it was attached to, only seemed to help the angle convey a sense of speed and power. The second camera was slashed low to the ground on the front of the creeper van's cowcatcher. With this low-angle camera attached to the creeper truck and fit with a wide-angle lens, it allowed us to go after the Chevy and get in very close, as if we were smashing into it. The wide-angle lens took full advantage of the beautiful fins and the angles of the back of the Chevy and made the car's swerves and jolts even more dramatic. The third camera Don slashed to the side of the creeper van, just behind the front right wheel. This became my favorite angle for the chase, because the spinning wheel and the road rushing under it created such a velocity that it became sort of mesmerizing, especially as it came up on the fleeing Chevy. Don told me I would need lots of little pieces to really show this attack the way I wanted to show it. There's a certain amount of experience and enthusiasm that a director would be a fool to fly in the face of, and I certainly felt that way with Donnie, who just had a terrific approach for every sequence in Jeepers. But I felt that the truck chase especially, he went in and came out with stuff that surpassed my expectations and storyboards completely. Like Don said, it's amazing what one mounted camera down low with a tire in the foreground can achieve.
Cameras that give me speed, speed, and action cars, action cars.
My memories of the Chevys and the creeper van are only that they rarely worked. More than a few takes were scrubbed because 1 or 2 of them just plain puttered out. In 1971, I must have been 12 or 13, Duel was a movie of the week. And I don't think consciously I was going, okay, I'm going to do my little version of Duel here in the first act of my movie. But once I saw the dailies of the big old truck coming up and going back and forth, I just said, oh my God, I'm doing Duel. I'm making Duel. In fact, our creature is a truck for the first third of the film. He has 3 forms. He has his automotive form, and then he has his kind of scarecrow from the dead, and then he has his Harryhausen beast form, which is, they're all 3 nods to all the things I loved about fantasy and horror movies when I was a boy, really. I got to do all 3 monster movies, you know, kind of in one.
I play a killer, basically, a bad dude, you know. I've been tracking people for centuries, and I'm an enigma of sorts. You know, nobody really knows exactly what I am in the film.
Darwin would love this guy. I mean, he's just a higher up on the food chain, and he's doing what he's got to do. You know, now that you mention it, he's not such a bad guy after all.
It's not all that often that a director or a producer will ask the makeup artist or the makeup effects artist their opinion on something. They'll just say, when can we have this? When they were doing their casting, their tests, when they were interviewing different actors to do it, they actually asked me my opinions on who they were thinking on choosing, and naturally they went with Jonathan Breck. He had a lot of charisma, and I thought he had a great look.
Like most auditions, 95% of the people aren't even in the ballpark. 4% are, yeah, there's some